Alright, welcome back. So today let's start working on a new project, and this time we are going to create an AI assistant, and we'll start basically from scratch. We are going to use something called Olama, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that we used this thing like a year ago, I think. And this tool lets you run LLMs locally, and it's pretty cool. You can even run them on CPU, but since I have a GPU, I can run them on the GPU as well. And if you cannot run them on a GPU, then it's fine. You can still kind of run small models on CPU, but yeah, we'll focus on I'm still gonna use a small model because it takes less time to download it, and once we have a proof of concept that our AI assistant works, we'll try different models, and we might even want to use different models for certain tasks. Like if you want to do some coding stuff, we might want to use, I think it's Code Llama, something like that. If we want to do simple stuff, maybe we use DeepSeek or Gemma or whatever. But the important thing is we can run different models, doesn't really matter. And when I said from scratch, I mean, obviously we are going to use pre-trained LLMs, but I don't really want to use something like LangChain where everything is basically done for you. You just have to call the APIs. Like if you want to do something really simple, search for LangChain, and this is basically what I want to try and build, but kind of from scratch. And honestly, I was thinking to use a programming language, and I was between Go and Rust. And I thought that since our last project was in Rust, maybe we can go with Go, duh. So yeah, what I did so far was to just set up the Nix flake for Go. I mean, it was kind of painful, not gonna lie, but I mean, it works. And I think it's like maybe a year since I'm using Nix, so maybe expect an update on that. Although it's, everything works fine, so yeah. But yeah, so we have Go and we have Olama running on CUDA, started it, and we can even have things like checking out what models, what LLMs we have installed. For instance, we have Gemma 31B. This one I think was the smallest model, that's why I chose it for this case, just to, run it really fast, see how it works, things like that. So yeah, again, the goal for today would be to have something really basic, maybe just being able to call the LLM and interact with it with some of the functionalities it has. And we might want to do it by, I guess, looking at the API documentation from Olama. So Olama basically runs an API, and funny enough, it's written in Go as well, so maybe it's a coincidence. So yeah, anyway, the idea is it runs an endpoint or multiple endpoints, I guess, and we can interact with this guy. So the first one, I guess the most basic one, is generating text, right? So to generate text, let's copy paste one of these curl commands. So I guess if you haven't used LLM APIs before, obviously you have to pass in the model ID. So we already talked about it. We have the Gemma 3 1 billion parameters model. That's its name, so that's what we are going to use as the model name. Then we have a prompt that we want to generate text as a follow-up, and then I guess Olama, or depending on the model, I would assume it has some other things like the suffix, so the text that's right after the response. This one's depends if you really want to use this thing. Images, this seems to be optional, and This one's pretty cool. You can actually send images as input and then ask stuff based on the image. And I guess there are some multimodal models that can take as input images. Probably, I'm pretty sure Gemma doesn't take images, but we'll check nonetheless. And then there's also this thing called thinking for thinking models. And you can also test. I'm not sure if Gemma 3 has something like that. I'm pretty sure that Llama has most of these features, so maybe I'll download Llama for next time. So yeah. And then we also have some advanced parameters, and we'll get into these, I guess, a bit later. Some of them are pretty interesting, and I guess the more interesting ones are not on the generate endpoint. So we'll just call the endpoint to make sure that it works, and then we'll move on to the chat endpoint, which is the more it has more stuff to it. But you know, we can still talk about these parameters. So one of them is the format, and this will basically force the LLM to respond in a certain, you know, JSON format. And how it's gonna do that is basically by modifying the prompt. So when we pass the prompt here, I guess we can see that I think there was a raw thing here. So request in raw mode. Basically, if we specify raw, you have to provide the prompt, the entire prompt yourself. So when we are gonna ask the LLM why is the sky blue, the I guess Olama will also add some things on top of that prompt. And obviously, if you want to generate in a certain format, it's probably gonna add some requirements in that prompt. So, you know, you also have to think about that. I guess some options, the system prompt probably, and yeah, some other things like streaming the response. I think we want to build everything with streaming because it's gonna make things better, like seeing the response being generated. Obviously, raw, I guess we'll keep it false, even though it could be interesting to see how we can, you know, do prompt engineering, but it's prompt engineering kind of is boring. So yeah, yeah. So let's try to see if we have this example. Perfect. And obviously we have to use the model that we have, so Gemma 3 1b, and let's ask it why is the sky blue. So here it's I guess going to respond with, since it's streaming equals true, I guess it responds with the stream of tokens. Okay, so maybe for this example we want to do, oh, really? Streaming false, or was it called stream? I think it was stream. Oh yeah, it's stream. So stream false. So now it's gonna respond with the entire response all at once. So you can see the sky is blue due to Rayleigh scattering. I don't know how to pronounce this thing, but it's basically a phenomenon. Okay, perfect. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's move on to, so now we prove that our thing works, so we can move on to the more complicated things like trying to generate a chat completion. So for chat completion, we also have some other things. Like the previous messages, we also have tools, which is something that could be interesting to look into. So yeah, basically the most important part is being able to preserve the history of the conversation, right? So that would go into the messages. . And I guess each message from messages needs to have something like this kind of structure where we have a role, which is going to be user or assistant. And if we add tools, it could also be a tool or, the system prompt, then the content, thinking, the model's thinking process, I guess. We can see what that is. Then we can also have the images if we have, multimodal, and tool calls if we had tool calls. So yeah, obviously we can also still do structured outputs with format. I would assume, yeah, we still have format. So yeah, and it's kind of similar to generate if you think about it, because if we just compare these two things, it looks pretty much the same, except now we have this, instead of just prompt, we have messages. So yeah, but what would be cooler about this thing is that you can imagine that we can copy paste. I'm not sure where is the end. So we can basically copy paste this thing and then ask another thing about this, and it will look at the previous message. Now it's kind of too big, so maybe we can just copy paste something small. Not sure. Okay, so because yeah. Now I know it's kind of annoying to write it in shell, so we are gonna skip that, but you can pretend that we can append things to the messages and ask more things based on the previous messages. So that's kind of the idea here with like that's the difference between just generate and chat. Okay, nice. So now what I would be interested like a bit more in would be actually the tools, because those are the more interesting ones. But for now, let's start actually working on simple, I guess, application like CLI tool that can actually interact with an LLM. So let's make sure that this thing still works. Okay, so we have hello world. So obviously this is gonna be kind of a wrapper for the curl commands that we were using. Okay, so, and I'm gonna do it directly for chat because that's the more interesting one. So maybe we'll have some parameters like the URL, right? The model name, and then the rest of the stuff will be generated in there. So let's see how we can actually build the CLI tool for that. So we have the URL. I guess Olama URL, and obviously these are going to be environment variables at some point, but for now let's just keep it simple. Const model name, and here, as I said, we might even want to load different models for different tasks, so we'll see how we can do that. Okay, and that's kind of all the environment variables that we need, but right now they're just constants. Okay, anyway, so let's start with maybe a struct for our LLM. So maybe if we have an interface for an LLM, Wait, wasn't it I don't remember how to to write Golang stuff. Okay, anyway, so because I was thinking we might want to have an interface for an LLM, but at the same time it could also just be a structure. Wait, wasn't it like this? I think I still have Matchmaker Go. This was the last project that we did with this one's kind of weird. Where is the actual code? Libgo. Ah, it's called type. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, now obviously things happen. So we have basically type, LLM, it's a struct. So in here we might want to have these kind of things like the model name or the URL. Then we might want a function on an LLM to call it or like to chat with it. That's the more interesting one. I just copying things just to recall how to use Go because it's been a while. So yeah, it is what it is. So we have the LLM. We might want a chat function. So what's it going to return? Probably it wants to return an error in case we have an error, and probably the message that gets generated. And as the input, of course, for now let's start with just the message, I guess. So when I call this thing, obviously we're gonna have the model here. We might want to have just the messages, the previous messages, and then we'll slowly add more features to it. So, okay. Message, and I want this thing to be message list, right? That's how you type it. Type message is gonna be a struct. And this is how you do it. Release that. Oh yeah, you have to do it like that. Why doesn't it like, oh, it's lowercase l. Okay, and as I said, I think it wants to return just a message. That's this is like the history, but I think I want to call it messages. I'm not sure. It's called messages here as well, so I'm just gonna keep it as messages. And again, I think the response, the response, it should have here, like it has the model name, created at, if it's done or not, if we have streaming response, and then we also have a final response. So right now let's just imagine that we have no streaming and we want to just reply with this message, with the result message. All right, we don't really care about these extra things. So let's start to add things to the message. So one of them is role, and I guess the role should be a string, but we only have a few possibilities, and in Go, as far as I know, we don't have an enum, so that's kind of sad in a way. Oh yeah, I just remembered you can also have this because yeah, you can do marshalling in Go, which is pretty cool. Like it's in stdlib, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, we don't really have enums in Go. So another way to do enums, if I remember correctly, was to use like global variables, right? But maybe that changed with IOTA. Hmm. Interesting. So that's a pretty cool way to think about it. We could have these variables, right? And then we can have a mapping from the variable to um, to the string, which is kind of interesting. Because that's, I think, the most idiomatic way to do enums. So let's have type role. I mean, should be just role. I guess a role, message role maybe, message role int, and then we can just have this const stuff. So we have message role, and then let's just make sure that we copy them in maybe the same order. I guess this is, a decent way of also seeing how to implement a client for an API. Okay, so here it's role system, role user. We also have role assistant and role tool, which we don't use yet, but the main reason for an AI assistant is obviously to use tools, so we are gonna use tools, don't worry about that. I also want to use multiple agents, let's call them. So it's gonna have, as I said, like an LLM for doing just talking with you, like chatting, and then you have another LLM for doing coding. So we are gonna try to build tools that switch between those LLMs. So that's that's gonna be the main focus at some point. But for now, it's just like introduction kind of. Okay, so we have the role. We are gonna have the content, and now I'm curious. Content, is it always string? I think it's always string, because I know there are some LLMs that can respond with JSON, but even if it's JSON, I think it's still gonna be a string. Okay, let's keep it simple and say it's gonna be a string, because I see here images, so that makes me think that those are gonna be separated. So let's do string. I mean, we could create a type, but come on, let's not go that far. Okay, it also has thinking, which, to be fair, I don't really care right now. The model's thinking process. So for thinking, I'm curious if it's also just a string or what. Doesn't really say. That's kind of scuffed. Maybe we'll see. Like we'll test what this thing is. We also have images. It says a list of images, and I'm pretty sure the images are just base 64. encoded. And now it's pretty sad that we don't have a real API spec, but it is what it is. Tool calls. This one is gonna be pretty useful. It's a list of tools in JSON. Let's not include it right now. Let's just have these things. Okay. So how is this thing going to work? Well, we obviously need to build our request and then send it. Pretty simple. So let's see. So we need the model, we need the messages, and that's kind of it. We don't need format. We might set stream to false for the beginning, and then we see. Okay, so let's actually add that JSON stuff. So JSON, I'm not sure how it's called in Go. I think it's some kind of annotation, but so JSON is role, and this thing is gonna be content. So this way we're gonna be able to convert them to JSON, and I guess that's the that's the annoying part, that's gonna convert this thing to a number. So maybe we wanted to keep message role as a string, but maybe we want to keep it as a string, and then we can use same thing as here. Map from message role, and it's gonna be message role. Okay, let's say we are gonna do it like this, and then we just need to create a mapping. Okay, perfect. So this is gonna be role system, role user. I think it was role user, right? User assistant or tool. Oh, fair enough. So we have these things. This LLM. So I think the LLM itself wants to know the model. So we want to have here a model, which is going to be a string. And then we can create a new function. So do I have? Yeah, it's called new DB here. I think that's fine to call it new DB, or I guess new LLM. New LLM, and it's just gonna have the model, and it should return an LLM. Okay, just need to make sure. So I just say LLM. Wait, how do you create a new structure? I guess you can do it like this and then change it. Sure, I remember how to do that. It's weird. cmd. I guess here it was just here maybe for handler v1. Okay, so you can just list them like that. Okay, I should have tried. Okay, and we can just return it. Perfect. So that's how we can create a new LLM. Perfect. So that's gonna be our model name. We also have the messages. Probably I also want type. I want the chat request, or yeah, I guess I'm gonna call it chat request. So we have this structure, and it's gonna have a model string that gets serialized to model, and then we have messages, which is a list of messages. Actually, I think you have to write it like this. I don't know why it's like that, but that's the right formatting. Right, if I do go fmt, doesn't like something. Will help fmt. Wasn't it? I thought it's go fmt something, but okay, cool. But I'm pretty sure it also adds who knows. I know in Go you want to have tabs instead of spaces. That's kind of crazy, but it is what it is. Anyway, so here we have the chat request with the model and the messages. Okay, right now the message only has content and the role, and that's that. Okay, so how can we now make Go HTTP request? So we want to make a request. I think this is stdlib, right? Yeah, nice. So we can just make, was it a get request? Remember, no, it's post because it has a body. Interesting how I didn't need to, yeah, it even says here. Curious. So we want to make a post request. Let's see. So it's a decent example, I would say, that we can just copy paste and see what it wants. So obviously we want to add the import for HTTP, and this one creates, we give it the URL, content, and the body. Okay, content and the body, and it can also respond with an error. I mean, in here, if error is not nil, we can just return. And since we have this named, it should automatically just propagate the error. Okay, interesting. So now how can we do here about the stuff? Olama URL. I mean, I guess we are just gonna hard code those things. So can we golang concat URL or something? URL parse URL join path. Okay, so maybe we can just use URL join path for that. So we have this API chat, right, that we have to use, and we also know the Olama URL. So let's do something like URL dot join path. Will it work? Join path, we give it a base, we give it the element, and it should give us a result and an error. So again, if error is not null, we just error it, and then Olama URL and API chat. It doesn't like that chat URL, or maybe path. I also have to declare those things. Wait, something like this. And here it's application slash JSON. Okay, and now that's the interesting part. How are we gonna create this IO reader? How are we gonna create the IO? Maybe they have another example. Not really. Not really. Maybe golang net http send JSON. Bytes new buffer JSON string. Was it really always that ugly? I mean, we have this JSON Marshall, which takes in bytes. What about JSON Marshall? So Marshall takes in an object and gives us bytes and an error. Nice. So here we can give it not messages directly because we want to create the chat request. So maybe request is equal to chat request, and we have this dot model and messages or something. So this is going to be our request. So here we have the bytes and an error, right? Bytes. And again, if error is not null, we just return it. And here is the interesting part. So we have the bytes. It's enough to just say buffer. Interesting. Bytes new buffer, byte, but now it's let's call it data. So we also have bytes. Okay, nice. This is going to give us a response, and if you saw it here, we kind of did this stuff in here. Let me just copy paste everything. So we have basically some other data, response body, and this one I called it res. Fuck. So we have the response, we do browse documentation, add import for this thing, read, and then we try to unmarshal into status, which is actually just it's not really the message. So we need to do type chat response struct, and as we saw here, the chat response basically has this kind of message at the end. So that's message, and it also has some other things like created at, done, blah blah, which we don't really care about. We just want to make sure that this thing works, and then we'll see about it. So here, sure, it's only message, but we want to with a response. Can I something like that? I can apparently. Nice. And then I can just do a response.message and error. Nice. So that's how the chat function should be. Now, I guess probably we might be able to abstract this stuff away into a client class, but yeah, whatever. So let's try to create a new LLM. So I'm gonna do LLM is equal to new LLM. We give it the model name, now unused, and then we can say LLM chat, and here we are gonna pass a list of messages. So let's have a function new message actually, and it's gonna take in a role which is message role, and the content which is gonna be a string, and it should create a message. So it's gonna do return message, and I want for the role to do message role of role and content. So that's how we are gonna create a new message. What? Like the missing comma. Okay. So that's how we are going to be able to create a new message. So let's do, can I just new message role user, why is the sky blue? And then we should get back a message or an error. If error is not equal to nil, then we might want to panic something. Doesn't work. And otherwise can we print ln the message? Expected type found. Fuck. It's I guess that's not how you create a list. How do you create a list? Or an array, I guess. Maybe like that. So if I do something like that, expected type, I need also the, okay, interesting, but the question is, can I just do it there, just so I don't have to, yeah, nice. So if we just run this thing, it's building illegal types for operand print. Okay, so it cannot really print the message. I guess we could marshal it just to have something like JSON marshal and we indent it. And licker marshal message. So this is gonna give us something like data and error. Now data is bytes though, so go bytes to string. Can we convert? I mean, I searched for this thing once. Okay, so you just call string on it, just like that. Or do I really need to add those things? Oh, I guess it's data. Doesn't look like I need these, but whatever. Why do I really need that? Okay, so it got 400. Alright, that's the... But let's restart it. Maybe there was something to do with like memory usage. I'm not sure. let's try to run it again. Let's see what so it was fine, it's just 400. Okay, so maybe we made some kind of mistake in here. Can we maybe look at how the request looks like? So here when we create this thing, maybe we can just print string data just to see the result. It's empty. Fuck. I guess fmt print could also be a good idea to use, just in case. Fmt, because it can print anything, so it can also print ln. Right, print fmt print can also print objects, I guess. So yeah, I mean the thing looks good, right? It has the right name and it has the right, I mean, kind of the right, yeah, it does. It's user and then the message, so it looks fine. So then what happened here? Marshall returns the JSON encoding of V. So chat request has JSON stuff on it, so it should be able to marshal it. And even message has. So why doesn't it work? Maybe I have to format dot print ln as well. See? So maybe it doesn't like something about print. Nope. Really, it's data just looks like that. What the fuck? Golang JSON Marshall empty. Oh, they need to be capitalized. Okay. I mean, that was one of the, things that Go does that I forgot about, I guess. So yeah, it's like that thing with private stuff in Go starts with lowercase and public stuff starts with uppercase. So that was the problem, I would assume. So let's see again. So I didn't like something. Type chat response has no field or method message. Okay, so here it's kind of annoying to run it with Nix. Maybe I just run it with Go because it has better error reporting. Okay, so it looks better now. It's a bunch of bytes. Panic. Panic help. Okay, but here it generated something. Right, so maybe I just made a mistake somewhere. Okay, so where do I print ln? So it said help. Was it here? fmt.println. Or I guess, wasn't it fatal or something? Error. Print. Okay, whatever. Let's just do return. In case we have an error. Let's see. This will tell us next. Invalid character after top level value. What the fuck is this error? No, but what's interesting, was it here? Or was it on the first one? Because here it replies with 200, so this one should be fine, like the thing, but maybe it wasn't actually. Yeah, I guess the error was probably here in read all or here. Let's see what's in the response. So in res. Because again, it replies with 200, so it should have something okay. $200. You know what I forgot to add in the chat request? It was the stream force. So stream, it should be a boolean. Stream. So when we create a chat request, we want to also say here false for streaming, because maybe it replies with a certain kind of some other type of response, and we don't handle it right now. Okay, nice. So it's actually replying with the role, which is assistant, and then it has some kind of content. That's nice. So it's printing this stuff here, we don't need it anymore. Okay, so now that we are able to, chat with it like one time, maybe we want to read actually the input and run this thing into kind of a loop. So let's have here the history, which is gonna be, let me just do something like this maybe. And then do we have loop or while? How's the Golang while loop? It's called for, right? So it's for, and we can have an infinite for just like this. Okay. So now if we do Golang read from stdin, we create a new reader. Is it like this? So we create a new reader, os stdin. Let's have like this kind of thingy, and here we might have an error, right? So maybe I want to do something like this. Then otherwise we have the text, which should be our prompt actually, and we want to do something like history is append history and a new message with role user and the prompt being prompt. Nice. So that's what we can do here, and then we pass in the history to chat. We get back a message. I don't know why I marshaled it, since we can just do it like that. But I mean, what's interesting about this thing is just the content, right? So that's what we want to print. So let's see, if we run this thing now, we should be able to chat with our chatbot. Okay. Okay, let's think about something to ask, and then we can ask a follow-up. So maybe I mean, the simplest one, what is 1 plus 1? What if you add 3 to that? Right, so now it should know that we want to add. The fuck? Okay, whatever. So 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5, but at least it remembered that we asked it about 1 plus 1. So that's the important part. It doesn't, let's pretend that it didn't get this one wrong. I mean, after all, I guess it's the smallest model from this list. So it's fine. Of course, it got it wrong, but it is what it is. Right. So just because we got into this one with the math stuff, what if we try to add a tool that basically does math operations? So the idea would be to try and figure out how we can use tools in here such that we can run tools, right? So we can have something like a new structure for the tools. So let's I don't even know, let's do it here. So let's have type tool is a struct, but I think more important would be like tool info or something, but maybe we can call it tool because of this thing. Let's go back to generate a chat. So here it wants tools. Maybe we have to keep it as tool for now. So we have the chat request, chat response, message, we have tool is a structure, and in here we have tools. So this is the list of tools that the model can use. All right, so let's add tools. It's gonna be a list of tool, and this is JSON tools. All right now it's empty, so it should work exactly the same. But let's try to figure out what a tool looks like. So maybe they have an example. No, here it's format. That's nice, but we don't need that. Chat request with history. That's exactly what we did. Oh, how is that different than my scattering? Okay, whatever. Chat with images. I mean, who knows what that image is, so that's not a cute little pig. Angry. I mean, I'm gonna try to decode it and see what it is, but maybe after. So we have here reproducible outputs if we use seed, and here we have tools. Okay, so how does a tool look like? It has a type, function, and then it has the function stuff. I think it's always gonna be a function. I'm not sure though. Not sure where. Not sure where this stuff is explained better, honestly. So it has this developer guide. So it has docs, right? Does it have anything for tools? Actually, it only has this API. But I would assume that it probably has different types if you want, but let's not worry about it. Let's just pretend it's always going to be function, but we are still going to add here the type. So type is going to be a string, JSON type. We're going to always make it the thing, and then we have a function. I guess for function we want to have something like function tool, so, or I guess tool, wait, function tool, which is gonna be JSON function, right? And now we need type function tool struct. This one seems to have a name. Description. String. I would assume that the description is probably used in the prompt to let the LM know, okay, you have this tool with this name, then it has this description. If you need to use a tool, use this tool, right? Or something like that. Then it has parameters. Function tool parameter, and it should be like a list. So JSON parameters. Now we need a type for this thing. It has type and then properties. This is also interesting. Parameters, type is an object, whatever. So function tool parameter is going to have a type, which is a string. again, we are going to hard code it to object and see if we actually need. So properties. Function tool para. Do I really have to property? I mean, I have to. It's kind of annoying, but JSON. And this should be another array. Kind of annoying that the name is like that, but I have property. I was just thinking if we might be able to do it in an easier way. So it has type, description, and an enum here. Come on, it doesn't really have a description of what it can do. I mean, I would assume it's just JSON stuff here, so it should be just JSON, right? That's what it looks like to me. So tools, list of tools in JSON. I thought I saw somewhere it's like a JSON schema or something. So the same as the format. Where was the format? Or I guess structured. Structured. Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's the JSON schema, right? But you still have to so structured outputs. Yeah, I guess it's just the JSON schema. I'm not sure if Go has something like that. Should request with tools. Go and struct to JSON schema. I mean, there is obviously a package for it. We might want to use this thing. Right, just to make our lives easier. How do you install this thing? I guess I just have to say go um, I mean, again, we could ignore the function tool. Okay, let's think about it. So reflect. Okay, interesting. So Golang add package. How can we install a package? With go get? I guess with go get, yeah. I have to do GitHub. Okay. And let's say we delete this part. And a tool, it should be just like, it looks like a tool. If we close all these things, I don't want to see them. Is a list of these kind of JSON schemas. All right, so if, let's say we take this thing just to see how it looks like. Let's put it here. Let's just delete whatever it's, yeah. So chat request, it wants tools. And I said that tools is gonna be empty for now. So if I do tool empty, let's delete that. Okay, so we have the test user, and let's see what this thing does. So it looks kind of ugly. Right. JSON schema. So reflect, no, it returns a schema. Okay. What's kind of annoying, it's also doing these things. And I want it to just do type, and then maybe for structured outputs it could be more useful. Not sure. Let's see how it compares to this. So let's say we have our, or I guess we can just fmt.ln this thing, and we can just see how it looks like. Okay, go run Scufris mango. Test user, and then a bunch of stuff. Okay, interesting. I mean, this one is a schema object. But it's like the name, the description, these parts, I don't think they can be part of a it looks like only the properties are kind of useful. Test user one off. So maybe this part that I deleted was still maybe kind of useful. So the function tool, somehow. Okay, so let's go. And here, what if I do just struct or interface? Can I have something like interface? Or I guess, yeah, any. So parameters is an any. So that's how a tool looks like. So it has the type, the function, and then parameters is a list of any. That's the schema. So if you just do reflect, your own definition. Schema. Type string, title, description, and then pattern. But what's kind of annoying is it adds this schema and ref and all of that crap, which is kind of useless. JSON schema. So this is a structure, right? It has it has definitions on it. Okay. So we might be able to just go into definitions. So this is just mapping, and it maps to schema yet again. Okay, to be fair, I think it doesn't really matter that we add these things. Like, it should ignore them, obviously. It's more curious about the type. So type function, it has something like name, so that would be the function. It has description. I mean, we could also just use these things for the properties, right? Or I guess for the parameters. That's what I meant. Okay, let's remove this part for now. So for parameters, we might be able to use it. The parameters also looks like it's just a mapping though, so maybe I want to make an any, right? And maybe for parameters, that's where we actually might be able to just use the schema. JSON schema. JSON schema. All right, so this one has properties. Again, interesting. It doesn't have a name, so that's what I'm kind of curious. But it also has this extra feature here where it says that you can actually implement JSON schema on a thing yourself. But see, it's like name, so that's kind of the part where it's yeah. So I guess that's should be enough maybe. So let's see if we can create some kind of tool. So here it's a list of tools. Let's actually pass here a list of tools. So tool and then tools. Okay, and now chat function should be kind of broken. So let's have tools. And let's do tools is an empty list of tools, and let's append a new tool. Or I guess tools is append tools, and we might be able to build a tool. Let's see. So type, it's just function. Then we have the function tool. So function tool has name, description, and parameters. Name calculator. The description is use this tool to do additions on numbers. Okay, and for the parameters, it's just JSON schema, right? And I guess that's the annoying part. So maybe we'll figure out a way to build this thing automatically somehow from the comments, or I don't know. So let's see. So for the schema, we need something like type. We need something like type. Let's say it's an object, just like here. Then we have properties, just like that. And properties needs to be a mapping. So let's have properties like this. and then the comma, obviously, and then here a comma. And now we don't have properties, but we could add them. So the parameters has type, properties, and required. Let's say, and this is an array. So for the array, we might be able to do string, left hand side and right hand side or something. So these are going to be our properties. Can we also have a map here somehow? Properties. But it's annoying because it wants order the map from string and JSON schema. So let's create this thing. Can I give it a type? Wait, why doesn't it like undefined ordered map? Boolean ordered map. Is it stupid? Ah shit, ordered map comes from somewhere. I mean, we already had it, but now it's public, kind of, right? Wait, what? Interesting. So here it's JSON schema.schema. Okay, JSON schema.schema. Can we do something about it? So here I would assume it wants a reference to it. New with capacity. I mean, new, I guess I want to do. Can I just do that? Really? But how do I do a type? You just add it like that. Interesting. So I can just take this thing and just add it here, I guess. Nice. Generics in Go, by the way. So we have these properties, and now we can do properties dot. Do we have add pairs? Ooh. So it wants pair KV, ordered map pair, and a pair. Does it have a some kind of constructor. Don't think so. Yeah, no, it doesn't. You just create it. So I'm gonna give it left hand side and JSON schema. We're gonna do some stuff in there. Well, fuck. Why don't you not load it? What? Wait, is it like key value or something? Oh, it's key and value. Okay, key and value. But what does it complain about? Oh, no. Go run. Let's see the error in the terminal because it's annoying. So 118. It's a syntax error. Unexpected new line. Oh, really? It does matter? The fuck? And here it's cannot use properties. So it's a reference to ordered map. So it wants just the ordered map itself. Okay. So let's say we have this part, and in here we need to say, so we have we have properties, we have basically left hand side, we need to add the type, which should be a number probably, and then description, the left hand side of the addition, and then we need one more of these, and it's gonna be right hand side, another number, the right hand side. Right. Kind of annoying that you cannot do new lines, but whatever. Okay, and then we have the properties and whatnot and the tool itself, right? And honestly, I expect it to respond with a tool call, right? So if we run this thing and we say what is 1 plus 1, it replied with nothing, I guess. 400. Let's just restart it. Let's go into chat. So here we create a request. Let's fmt.print ln the request. Let's see what the request looks like. What is 1 plus 1? Kind of annoying that it has this stuff like that though. Can we somehow print string data. Can we make that data string? Okay, nice. So it looks better, right? So what is 1 plus 1? Then it has tools, type function, and then the function name is calculator. So right here we have some name. Then it has a description. Nice. It has parameters, and then the parameters has properties, left hand side, right hand side. It has type object, it also has this required, left hand side and right hand side. And then for the properties it has these things. Maybe Gemma doesn't work with tools, who knows? Can we try it like this? Wow, I have to scroll until llama 3.2. Okay, so let's try it with Gemma 3 1b, right? Gemma 3 does not support tools. Okay, fair enough. So then we might want to use llama. Let me just, so which one? I guess llama 3. Okay, let's pull this one. I'm just gonna do pull, take a short break until it downloads, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I think it should be done. Let's run this thing again. What is 1 plus 1? Question mark. So the model responded, or I guess this is the prompt, right? It looks the same though. So it responded with 200, which is a good sign. Okay, but we don't see anything, and question is why? So if we take a look at the response, it should have something like tool calls in the message, right? And right now we don't have, in a message, we don't have tool calls. Here we have only role, content, but we're missing tool calls. So let's add tool calls. It's a string, or I guess it's gonna be a list of tool call. So it's JSON tool underscore calls. And let's add type tool call struct and new message. Let's do empty here. Tool call empty. When we just create a new message, we are more interested in reading the tool call. So here, println message dot tool calls. Okay, and what can we put inside of a tool call? It has function, it has the name and the arguments. So let's maybe have some kind of data and any. Is that the thing? Can we somehow have something like that? Maybe even JSON function, or I'm gonna call it function. What is 1 plus 1? Right, so it replied with this kind of mapping, right? With the left hand side and the right hand side, which is pretty nice. Now I'm not sure what the what this thing replies with, like what's its format. Maybe it's gonna tell us here. A list of JSON, a list of tools in JSON that the model wants to use. So it's basically nice. So what we can do then, oh, that's pretty nice, because what we can do is we can have a structure for our tool, and then instead of JSON schema here, we can actually use like an interface or something, and then pass our tool call into JSON schema.reflect or something. So that could be nice. So here is just a structure, I guess. So it's function. Maybe we can have function tool call. Kind of weird this function, but whatever. So type function tool call struct, and then we have the name is a string, and then we have arguments, which is a list. I guess the argument is a mapping. Can I make it a map? I think I can. So string, and the result is a number. Or I guess int. Right, so I think I can do something like that, at least for this one. Yeah, like it's hard coded, but I mean, it depends on the function call. I mean, yeah, I guess we can keep it as mapping from string to any. Like the name is important, so we can see, oh, it's the calculator, so we can parse the arguments in a way. Yeah, whatever. So we can figure things out, but for now let's test it. Let's see if it's actually gonna. What is 1 plus 1? So it gives us calculator function with left hand side 1, and that's 1. So can we also fmt.println message.row? What is 1? So I'm expecting the role to be assistant still. Yeah, so it's still assistant. So we want to respond with a tool role now. So let's just have something like if message.tool calls, I guess the len is not 0, for tool, or I guess for call in message tool calls. Can we do something like that? Or is it Golang for each? Oh, it's like that. Okay. So here it's also index, but we don't really care. So here we have, what? I call it with range. So here we have the tool call. If call dot name is calculator, then we have the calculator tool, and what we can do is result is called function dot arguments left hand side plus call function arguments right hand side. And yeah, here it's gonna complain that let's just do left hand side as int. How can I go and cast any to int? Convert interface to int. Oh, I just call int on it. Oops. Okay. And here it's right hand side. Huh. Okay, so I have to, oops, I have to do dot int on it, or what? Interesting. Perfect, so then we have the result is left hand side plus right hand side. Right, now it's gonna complain. And what we want to do now is to send a new message in the history. So we want to send a new message. Okay, so let's do an if else here. Actually, where we just print the content. So we create a new message where we do tool, role tool, and instead of a prompt, we have string result. Right, and shit. Maybe at the end we just always print the message content because we're gonna get the message from here. I mean, you know, I guess it's a bit hacky, but whatever. Int string. String convert. I to A. Okay, so I to A, I guess. Right, so maybe this is gonna work, let's see. So what I could also say here maybe is fmt.println. We have a tool call just so we know, but it's not gonna stay there. So what is 1 plus 1? We have a tool call. What the fuck? We still have that println, which we don't need. So we have a tool call let's do fmt.print ln arguments. Really, what was the problem? Interface is string, not int. Really? What is 1 plus 1? But I thought I said the type is number. Interface conversion. Interface. So can I do string convert a to I? And it also wants what? The error. Let's ignore the error for now, if we can. And I think it wants 2 arguments because it's okay, whatever. I thought it wanted the radix of the thing. I'd be happy to help with your questions, however I don't see. The fuck? History. Am I not supposed to send it like that? So here we get images with tools. So that's gonna be the request. The response should be a tool call. And then I would assume you want to send the role tool. Right? Or so when we had chat tool. Let's fmt.println the history. Let's see what the history looks like. Is 1 plus 1. User, the fuck? New message, role tool. Wait, what? No, tool 2. I guess. No, it's message content tool calls. Yeah, it should work. It looks like we received an automated response from a help desk or technical support systems. Maybe it's too stupid to know what to do, but tool and then 2. Yeah, like it. That's how you're supposed to do that, right? Send a message with tool. Maybe I forgot to append this message. So we have to append that message as well, maybe? History is append history and message. Maybe that's missing. What is 1 plus 1? Nice. So now we had to also add the response from the assistant and then add the tool call here. But yeah, that was the problem. Okay, Fair enough. So now it works properly. Nice. I guess, I mean, it's kind of scuffed. As usual, as all my projects. But, I mean, it works. So, what if you add 3 to the result? Oh, shit. Okay, so now it got broken. But then, I mean, it's a small model. We'll try to use a larger one, I guess, at some point, but I think that's okay. Maybe we also want to append this message here. I think I forgot to append it. Is that what is 1 plus 1? Wait, do I really not append it? Yeah, no, I don't. Okay. What if you add 1 to that? No, I wonder how it got 5, honestly. Dot println message. Okay. What is 1 plus 1? What if you add 1 to that? Okay, so okay, now that I printed the tool call, it's no longer stupid, but I mean, you know, it's still dumb. But yeah, I guess I would assume it's because it's you know, really small model. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to implement for this session, trying to work with tools. Now, you know, it's gonna be just a matter of trying to refactor the things, but usually I think it's a good idea that when you first start something, you just try to go straight for the result. You don't really focus that much on how it looks like. I mean, even here, maybe I'd say it was a small mistake to use JSON schema in here. Maybe I should have just used the dict, right, and just went with it, but you know, honestly, I was curious if it works, so yeah, that's that. But the rest of the stuff, again, how I would do it is as simple as possible. Just prove to yourself that it works, and then you can do whatever you want with it if you still think it's like good enough. Even here, I didn't create like a hash map of functions. I just made an if. So here you should probably have some kind of like some kind of database in quotation marks of tools that you can use. So yeah, I guess that's kind of it for today. So, you know, we are able to use tools. I guess what okay, what is 1 plus 1? That was not a good interesting. So sometimes it's gonna do float 64, sometimes string. So yeah, it's also a matter of doing better prompts, but you know, for now I would say it's a pretty decent result. So yeah, hopefully this was also interesting for you, and let's see in the next one. So until then, see you.